A legendary pop music figure has died. George Martin is known as the fifth Beatle for his longtime collaboration with one of the world's most famous rock and roll bands. CCTV's Jim Spellman is here with more on Martin's life and his influence on popular music, which is extensive.
Like our esteemed producers here at CCTV, record producers are usually in the background. Many of us have no idea who the producers are on most songs we listen to, but George Martin redefined the role of producer. His influence can be heard on many of the Beatles' biggest hits.
He was known as the fifth Beatle, the producer who helped make the Fab Four the biggest band in the world in the 1960s. Sir George Martin died Tuesday at his home in England. He was 90. Martin looked and acted nothing like the mop-top Beatles, but the dapper English gentleman formed a lasting bond with the group, going on to produce more than 200 Beatles tracks.
The Beatles were a unique quartet because they each contributed a great deal to each other, and the four of them became larger than the individual parts.
Martin pushed the group to new heights and added distinctive flourishes, like the string section on the classic song Yesterday.
In those days, in 1965, Yesterday was recorded, and the very first time I ever wrote a score for the Beatles, and very first time that any Beatle recorded by himself.
Martin won 6 Grammys and was nominated for an Oscar for A Hard Day's Night. In 1996, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. At Abbey Road Studios in London, fans are paying respect.
I think as a backroom guy, he was never particularly prominent with the Beatles, but he was always there. He was always behind them, he was always above them, he was always there.
Tributes have poured in from fellow producers like Quincy Jones and world leaders including British Prime Minister David Cameron. On Facebook, Beatles drummer Ringo Starr wrote, "God bless George Martin," and in a statement, Paul McCartney wrote, "I have so many wonderful memories of this great man that will be with me forever. He was a true gentleman and like a second father to me."
Music has changed a lot since the 1960s, but many musicians and producers today still consider the relationship between the Beatles and George Martin to be the ultimate musical collaboration, Mike.
Really put his imprint on that music, didn't he?
It really did.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jim.